if you've got some of these, then you've got some of these, and I'll show you how to make some of these. Hello everyone, I'm Ceri the Crafter, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter. Let's make some paper flowers. Well, paper, let's say book page flowers. Now, I'm going to be using quite a lot of different stamps in this video. It should be quite a short video because I'm just going to show you a demonstration of techniques and then show you what you can do with them. So all of the foam stamps I'm using are from PM Artist Studio. However, you could do the same thing if you're good at hand drawing. You could draw your own flowers. You could potentially do them with red rubber stamps and cling stamps. Depends on what resource you've got. At the end of the day, you could even trace around flowers from, say, a magazine and then trace those onto your book page and cut those out. Let me show you what we've got anyway. So I'm going to run through who the designers are now and show you the stamps because I will never remember when I'm doing them. So for leaves, I'm using these from Rhonda Donar. Now, if you want to go to my description box, there'll be a link there through to PM Artist Studio website. Go into there, look under foam stamps, or just put a search for flowers or leaves, you'll find them. The next leaves, actually, this is two. There are 4 in this collection. These are the 2 I'm using, and these are actually designed by Brad at PM Artist Studio. There's this one, which is the Dahlia or Dahlia, depends on how you say it, and that's from Sapphire. This one, which I believe is called the Wild Rose, is from Chrissy Hartman, and look out for this because in March I'm going to be using this for one of my challenge projects. I couldn't share everyone else sharing one of my own. This is my hydrangea stamp. Sure, you've seen that one before. And then the biggest designer of all, and I say biggest purely because of the amount of flowers and leaves she's got, is Darcy Sanders. So I'm going to get these wrong, but bear with me. I think that's sketchy something. I'm not sure. I want to say these are zinnias or zinnias. These are the daisies. There's a single and a group of 3. I want to say these are wallflowers. Now, this is not an exhaustive collection of all the flowers PM Artist Studio do. I'd be so lucky if I owned them all. I don't. But those are the ones I do own and the ones I use. So let's backtrack a bit and talk about what I'm using. Now, I like to make my book page flowers out of whitish, more modern papers. If you pull in something like this that's maybe a bit older, the discoloration with older papers is going to discolor your flowers. So what I normally do is I always get my books from charity or thrift shops. I will look for things like, if I'm doing flowers, I will try and find a gardening book, or a cookery book is another one. Anything where I don't have to sanitize what's written on the pages. Sometimes the text is seen and I don't want anyone offended. But you have seen me use these. Now, if you've seen me do gel printing, you will know as I'm gel printing, I'm cleaning off my brayer. I brayer off onto book pages like this. What do I do with those? This is my box of, this is where the book pages go once they've been brayed off on and they've got stamps and like clean stamps on them. These are all here for collage work, stuff like that. As you can see, and these are scraps left from those. I use them, you see me use them in other projects. What we end up with, if I'm only doing clean-offs on them, like when I did this one, I thought, oh, that'd make good flowers, so I'll put it to one side. I don't want to take it another step further. I don't want to come in and then do mark making and stamping on it, because to be honest with you, if I'm making them for flowers, I want them as clean coloured as possible. I do use metallics. I like making gold. I try to use paints that are relatively transparent, but if they're not totally transparent, doesn't matter to me. And greens, I use greens for leaves, but I do brown leaves as well, and I do gold leaves. Depends on what time of year it is. So those to one side. Let's do a really quick dem for those who may not have seen me gel printing, and we'll just a bit of a clean mat under there. So just so that people understand exactly, because someone may be a newbie or someone may not have seen me gel printing and they're wondering what the heck I'm talking about. And there's a big daub of something in there. Sorry, that's got to come out of there. Right, so the process of gel printing means I would have a brayer with paint on it, and then I just brayer over my book page. And then this would be a way of cleaning up my plate, and also be a way of cleaning up my brayer, and it would make pages like this. Now, it took some time to do that, but normally, as I'm working, these just build up and build up and build up. I don't specifically make these pages. These are a side product for me from gel printing. Just put that there. Pull in a bit of spare tissue just to clean up stuff on there, because goodness knows I'm not going to waste anything at all. That can sit there for a second. Now, if you don't have a gel plate, or you're thinking, well, Ceri, I don't have that. Okay, you don't need to do this with a gel plate. You don't need to do it with acrylics. You could do this with watercolor paints. You could do this with spray inks. You could do it with ink pads. Anything that you can color something with, you can do. The only thing I would say is, if you're using alcohol, like acrylic inks, alcohol inks, it's going to go right through your paper. So be aware what surface you've got it on. But if you don't have that, and you've got book pages, grab yourself a wet wipe, or a wet one, or a baby wipe, or whatever you call it. And you can take this, take a little bit of your paint. It won't give you exactly the same finish, but it will give you something very similar to it. So if you come in, now, don't go scrubbing, just do some really light wipes on there, because what you'll do is, if you keep scrubbing at it, you're going to end up making the paper pill, or it'll give the top surface of the page will start to come up, basically. So I'm just using a little bit. The thinner your paint, the easier and faster this will be. Like, I wouldn't normally use heavy body paint for this. I would normally use a craft paint. So there you go. Brayer, not brayer. Craft paints I find work really well for this. If you have a heavy bodied paint, mix it with a little bit of water so it's more of a runny consistency. You can also do this by cleaning your paintbrush off, anything like that. Right, now get rid of this. So that's how I generate my paper. So we're going to keep that here because I need it for the next stage. Now, before we go into stamping these, let's look at some examples so we can actually see what we're aiming for. I'm going to paint on my hands. So this is my box of flowers. Now, what I do is I will stamp the flowers onto the book pages, roughly cut around them and throw them in here. This box normally lives in my kitchen, because if there's one room in my house where I usually have spare time, I'm waiting for the washing machine, I'm waiting for the oven, I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, I'm waiting for the dog to finish eating. Believe me, I fussy cut one flower while I'm waiting, two flowers while I'm waiting, and that's how I build up this collection. Now, as you can see, there are a variety of different colours. I like to stamp in black mainly, but you can stamp in a colour. There's a time and a place for both of them. I actually quite like doing the leaves in a darker green, as you can see here and here, but I also like doing them in black as well. And if I'm doing a fall or an autumn scene, I would stamp these in red or orange, something like that. Now, as you can see, metallics work equally as well. But one thing I would note with these, though, is you're probably going to just pick up, is that the dahlia? I think that's the dahlia. You may think, but Ceri, I've only got, let's move that so it's not blinding you. So I've only got the one flower. Yeah, but if you do this flower and cut around it, you've got this flower. But if you then cut the next layer of petals off, you end up with a smaller flower. Right, where's Darcy's daisies? Darcy, I need a cluster of daisies. Okay. The foam stamps are a single daisy and a cluster of 3. However, if you were to fussy cut this out, you've got a complete small daisy there, which means you'd have this size daisy and this cluster and a spare. So look into what the flowers are and see, like here's another one, I can't remember what this one's called, but I could take off the outer edge of these petals and make a smaller flower. And it works with a lot of them. This one, sketchy one, you would think it wouldn't, but you could take out that petal and that petal and that petal to make a slightly smaller flower. Plus, if you took that off the side, and with my hydrangea, it's not a perfect stamp, but that's fine. You can actually take out a whole rim of them to get the central piece or do smaller pieces. So you can get where I'm coming with this, guys. There's lots of variety within these. Things like this you can't cut down, but you can interlink them and overlap them, and they make up clusters on their own. So let's show you how I'm doing this. Now, I'm going to stamp one of each of the stamps onto the pages here. Now, I don't intend cutting them out because you've all fussy cut. I know you all know how to fussy cut. I'm not going to show you how to cut them out, but I do want to talk about stamping with acrylic paint. Now, I stamp with acrylic paint, but you can stamp these with permanent ink, semi-permanent ink, water activated ink, whatever you want to stamp with, you can stamp with it. Just rely on regarding and respecting the properties of what you have stamped it with. I like to stamp in black acrylic paint or acrylic paint because it's less likely to move. I use these in collage, I use in my art books. I may brush medium over the top. If I've got a water reactive something here, it's going to smear. So let's just start at the very beginning, as that Mary Poppins song goes. So I'm going to use black, as I said. This is just Mars Black. You can use whatever consistency you think is deemed correct. So I'm going to start, let's just start with my own. Let's just pull out, I don't think I've got a pink hydrangea. So when you look at a large foam stamp, the center of it sometimes is concave slightly from the process of heating. When I'm stamping it down, I put my finger in the middle and move it around so that I'm getting a good coat on the whole of the stamp surface. If it's not a perfect stamp, it doesn't matter because the stamped image can be overlapped with another one. I put it down, I press it in the middle, and I gently press around the edges. I don't stomp on it. Perfect stamp. There you go. But say I hadn't stamped and this area hadn't come out, I'd still cut all of that out because you'll be tucking flowers under each other. Now, as soon as this stamp has been used and I've finished with it, I'm sitting it in, I've got a cat litter tray and I put it face down in some water just so that the paint can dissolve off the front of it and it's not going to become a problem for me. Right, I'm going on to some leaves now. Now, I find that black paint dries out very, very quickly for me. So I know that I'm going to have to replenish this several times, this pad, as we're talking. See, that's another one. This is the Rhonda Donar one. I like these because you can come in and paint the little areas, give yourself some detail on them. Now, my pad is beginning to dry up, so I've got areas where it didn't stamp correctly, all as solid as the rest. When you fussy cut, that's fine. If that really bothers you, go in with a paint marker. Go in with a paintbrush and just finish that off. Why waste all of that just because of that little bit there? So I do need some more paint down here because, as I said, my black is drying up on me. I do have the heating on here because it is so cold here. So cold. Right, these leaves, as I said, these are designed by PM Artist Studio themselves. I have found that these are the two I use most, although there are four in this selection. There are four of them, you buy them individually. So now when I cut these out, I don't normally cut the stem out. I cut across there and I draw the stem in afterwards if I really, really need to, but I love the crispness of that. And that was crispness, not Christmas. Now, you are stamping over acrylic paint. acrylic paint onto acrylic paint is fine. If you're stamping acrylic paint onto, if you're stamping ink onto a surface that's acrylic paint, it's going to take a while to settle because the way ink works is it absorbs into the paper. But if I have a barrier here of paint, when I stamp, it's going to sit on the top. So if you're using ink, you may have to wait a little while for it to dry fully, which is probably another reason why I really, really like using acrylic paint. Right, onto the Dahlia or Dahlia by Sapphire. Now, any pieces, once you've cut up, you can save these pieces for collage, clusters, anything like that. See, absolutely beautiful. I mean, I would probably try and put a half one up there or a 3/4 one if I wasn't just doing this video. Now, let's bring another one in. Oh, bit of bright orangeness there. Okay. This is Wild Rose by Christy Hartman. This is a new stamp for me. I only got this, I say last week, I think, and I've already used it several times and I love it. It can also be used, I know it says it's a wild rose, but I have looked at this and I think you could get away with calling this a poppy. And I don't have any orange poppies down here, so I'm just going to stamp this twice. I think you could quite easily call that a poppy. See, love the detail on that one. Absolutely love the detail. Another way to do this, guys, as well, if you wish to, you could do heat embossing powders and stamp onto your book page, sprinkle with heat embossing powders, tap off the excess and heat gun it, and then you would have a flower that would have a bit of a sheen to it. I do believe I've been told that there are matte embossing powders. I don't have any, but you can do this. Let's pull in another colour. We're going to head down the Darcy Sanders route here. So have I got enough paint there? I might just be able to get this out. No, it's dried up. That's what happens when I have a good old chin wag, isn't it? Now, the reason I'm putting the stamps into water afterwards is to dissolve off all of, I love the Christmas, that's another one that you go in and paint them in as well. I'm going to put them in water because I want to dissolve the coating of acrylic paint that's built up on the stamp. If you don't soak it in water and that dries on it, you will find that it will seal your stamp. Therefore, it's less likely to work as well with inks. Let's see if I've got enough there for the daisy. I probably have. Can I get the daisy in there? I can get the daisy in there. So you will look at your stamps in a whole nother way after doing this, I can assure you. I love recycling stuff. And when you think all of the paste on my book pages would normally have been just wasted paint because it was surplus to requirements, it means I love that one. I've used that so much. It just warms my heart to know that I can actually just use paints up. Which is why you've probably seen several projects from me. Like I've done butterflies in this way. I've done other things in this way. Again, I hold it in the middle and then I press around the edge. Bang. There you go. Looks lovely. And we're going off on here. That's a zinnia. Zinnia, I think the zinnias only came out, is it last month? I can't remember when they came out. They only came out recently. I must admit, I'd like to collect all of the flowers PM Artist Studio has. But with international shipping and postage and all of that lot, I'm building them up as time goes by. Let's just put it that way. Whenever I put an order in, and I put an order in quite regularly, probably about every other month, which may not seem a lot to you guys, but it is to me. That looks like it's dried out. I will usually throw in a flower or a leaf stamp if they've got one on the offer I haven't got, because if you create an account with PM Artist Studio, and I recommend that you do for their website, you have to have an account to purchase, but having an account doesn't mean you have to purchase. Although when you've got an account and you purchase, you earn loyalty points, which you can then spend. The other nice thing I like about the website they've got there, that sounds really dramatic, is that there's, what's it called, a wish list. So I should go to this whole page with these, I think. It'll be a wish list, and you can add your stencils, masks, stamps, anything that you want. They do printables. I've got a printable of gel print snippets and scraps ready for hashtag Mixed Media March, which is coming up faster than I care to think about. So yes, so they've got lots of stuff on the website, guys. They also, see how beautiful is that? They also do lives 4 times a week. Right, I'm just going to put this to one side. Right, so this is the one we printed first. Now, my box of flowers, which you've seen, and you will see again, because the reason I prepped so many is I'm going to be using these quite a lot in my Mixed Media March 25 challenge, which is coming up in March, obviously. And what I do is this box is I will just roughly chop around these, as I said before, just to get the bulk of the paper out of my box, and I will leave that in the box. And then when I feel like it, I'll just fussy cut it out. Or if I'm doing a project and I need to fussy cut this one, I just fussy cut it as I need it. Because once you do a session of stamping these flowers out, believe me, you will have pages and pages and pages of them. And the last thing you want to be is disheartened by the fact that you've got 2 days worth of fussy cutting to do. I hate fussy cutting. So give yourself a favour. Put them in the box when they're dry. This can go in your scraps. Put them in the box when you're dry, and then fussy cut them when you sat down having a cup of coffee, or on that extra long phone call with a friend who you didn't really want to talk to anyway, but they called, so you be nice about it. Get what I mean? I'm sure you do. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. Just something special from me. I'm just showing you how I make my book page flowers. So I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.